how much does achievement really kind of amp up the pressure a little bit?
Well, I think nothing can take away what these guys have established in this program over their careers, which has been terrific. But we certainly want to finish well. That would be a terrific way for their career, of course, our program, to really finish as well as we can in the NCAA tournament. There's no question about that. And these guys know, and I know, the way you do that is you go after it one game at a time. You can't do any other way. And with the balance in college basketball, there's so many good teams that it's just that kind of year. But that's something that's a goal of theirs, of ours, to have the best chance to play as well as we can heading into this tournament. And it's an exciting time, and they've accomplished so much already that this would be obviously a great way to finish out playing our best basketball in the tournament.
AG, you want to talk about that as well?
Yeah, of course, it's a lot of the guys on the teams last year, and it would be awesome to go as far as we can. Like Coach Bennett said, that's one of our goals, to put ourselves in the best position to be successful in this tournament, and we're really looking forward to it.
Okay. Over here, Whitey.
Hey, yeah, this is for all three of you guys. I remember after last season's NCAA tournament, Darian made some interesting comments about your toughness level. First of all, was that something that you guys agreed could have been better? And if so, do you think you're better in that department possibly this year?
Yeah, I think some of that was taken out of context and the frustration of the moment, and that was that. Darian, when you're in your last year and you lose a tough game, sometimes things are said. But this year's team's different, and I think to advance in the NCAA tournament, you have to play with a level of tenacity. Playing 3 games in the ACC tournament, a real high-level physical game against Carolina, even who we've played in the ACC tournament, the experience they have, we know that's what's required for us to be good, and we're going to lay it on the line and play to the utmost of our abilities and as hard as we can. I have confidence in these guys. I think they've paid the price. They've worked hard, but everybody at this stage has. I think all the teams you play. So. But as far as last year, this year, we're a different team. I enjoyed that team last year. We didn't play our best in the Michigan State game. That happens. That's why we're trying to play our best this time and see what can happen against Hampton and go from there.
Malcolm, you want to handle that from a player's perspective?
I think it's important for us to take this one game at a time, and not worry about the past, not get too far ahead of ourselves, worrying about Michigan State or other teams. Just take it one game at a time and worry about Hampton and do the best we can.
Okay. Jeff White.
Malcolm, your first year you missed the NCAA tournament with a foot injury. Having to watch that and not be able to participate, has that given you any greater appreciation for playing in it these last 2 years and now this year?
Absolutely. When I first got injured, I was really upset about it. I was thinking, why did this happen to me? But after I sat back and I thought about it, it was really a blessing in disguise. And I was able to really sit back and understand and really learn to appreciate this game and appreciate every time I step on the floor. So moments like this is my last time I'll get to play in the NCAA tournament. It's a moment I'll cherish. Win or lose, it's special for me.
Okay. Mike Barber.
For both the players, you talked so much about one game at a time, and obviously there were struggles during the regular season, but I'm curious for both of you if it felt like you were kind of just waiting to get to this point, because I know from the outside, people kind of say you'll be judged on what you do here in this tournament.
I would never say we were waiting just to get to the NCAA tournament. Each game is important leading up into the tournament because that builds who we are. It builds our character, it builds what we build our foundation on and everything like that. So I wouldn't say we were looking forward to the NCAA tournament by any means. Those losses that we took earlier in the year, it was because we weren't ready. It was because our mentality wasn't where it needed to be as far as defensively and offensively on the court. And that's why we took those losses earlier in the year, not because we were looking forward to anything later in the year.
Jerry? Jerry, go ahead.
Okay, this is for Malcolm and Anthony. A lot is made about experience this time of year, and you guys having played together so long, and with London, can you just talk about the unspoken communication you guys have, knowing what's in his head and vice versa, and how you think that'll help you in the tournament?
For sure. I think experience and maturity and chemistry will play a big role for us this season. Me, London, and AG being the guys that play the majority of the minutes on the team, and being the guys that have played, big minutes on the team in the past couple of years, we've developed chemistry. We've developed, a way of playing together that, I think is really going to help us help the team in the postseason. And I think that's what it really comes down to for teams in the postseason. If your league guys can play together and they can do it at a high level and lead the team at a high level, I think, we can be successful.
Norm and then Doug.
Tony, you said after the UNC game the other night that you had a feeling that you guys played pretty well defensively, just watching it, sitting on the side there. But you wanted to watch video and get an evaluation and all that. Now that you've seen video, did you feel good about the effort defensively? And beyond that, I know it's just one game, but that's obviously an opponent that a lot of people think has a chance to win the tournament. Did you see anything out of that game that concerns you moving forward at all into the tournament?
Well, I thought it was a high-level game. It was very intense, very physical, and I told the guys yesterday, desperately we wanted to win that, but they didn't take a step back in that game. And watching that, some bolts need to be tightened. There's a few things that you wish you could have back, because in a game like that, 2 or 3 quirky plays or a breakdown here or there can be the difference. And we didn't shoot the ball particularly well. As I mentioned, credit to their defense, and sometimes we just didn't hit the shot. So a few things that we saw that, as in every game, there's going to be some breakdowns, but for the most part, it was a game that was contended well and defended well and hard fought. And it was like I said, I felt like a high-level game with the atmosphere and what was required. So I think I stand by what I said, and the video sort of validated that.
Anthony, there was a lot of talk yesterday about the leaked bracket. Were you all aware of that, and how confusing was that?
Yeah, when we were watching it all together as a team, and the first part of the show we were watching, it was all normal, and then someone said it got leaked, and somebody at the table pulled it up. But a lot of us didn't want to see it. Just kind of waited to see, just kind of enjoying the moment together, watching it on TV and things like that. Some of the guys on the team were comparing the leak bracket to actually what was going on and seeing if it was real. But, that's a funny situation that happened, and, but it was a good time that we had yesterday together watching it.
I was enjoying the moment trying to, and our SID just came up and put the phone right in my face and ruined the whole thing. So that's what you get when you've been best friends since 5th grade, right? So.
Anthony, when you transferred here, and Malcolm, when you sat out a year and you were disappointed by, having to do that, and you talked this year preseason about coming here and wanting to be 500. And now wanting to win the national championship. When you guys look at what your careers have become here and talk about being one of the best 4-year or 5-year periods in school history and stuff, does that register at all with you, or are you still so stuck in the moment that, it doesn't register?
For me, I can't speak for Anthony. It hasn't registered for me. I am very much stuck in the moment. I'm a very focused guy that, is focused on the next game. Regardless of how we've done in the past, I'm focused on the next game. But that's something I can look back and rejoice on after the season is done. But for now, it's about the NCAA tournament, and you gotta, as Coach Bennett says, keep the blinders on.
Yeah, my perspective is a little different because I did come from a situation my first year in college where we didn't win that many games. So every game that we win now is a blessing for me, and I don't look past anything that we've done so far. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I do acknowledge that we have done a lot here.
I can remember in practice when these two guys were on the green team or the scout team and having to go against them and telling our staff after, I think we're going to be okay when these guys are healthy and are on the court together. I remember getting really angry at our first unit because we couldn't keep him out of the lane. We couldn't keep him off the glass. They were scoring. and they really prepared us well. But I remember looking forward to, at the time, this team coming together and these guys being able to play. That's a while ago, but still remember how they showed those signs, and they both have improved from then.
Yeah, this is for all three of you guys. How well do you know Keel's little brother? Was he hanging around the program a lot when he was younger?
Yeah, well, I'll let Anthony. Anthony played obviously with Akil in high school, and then go ahead.
Yeah, so Akil's little brother was always around me in high school. He went to Charlotte Christian for a while. So we kind of have a bond there. Akil texted me as soon as they found out that we were playing Hampton, and he was like, "I love you, Hoos, but I hope my brother wins." But you know how that goes.
Blood's thicker than water.
Yeah, blood is thicker than water. But I think it's going to be a fun game. A lot of emotion. That team is very excited to be in the tournament, and so are we. And I think it's going to be a great game.
I know you spoke a little bit about Hampton last night, but looking back at the box score from a couple years ago, some of those guards that are there now as seniors, you played a couple years ago in the early season. I think it was Corpus Christi Challenge or something like that matchup here. Can you look back at film against yourselves, even though it's old, against those guys, and see how they handled the pack line specifically versus other teams' film, or does it so old?
Yeah, that's a while ago. You can take a look at that, but they have all their players. They're a veteran team, 6 seniors that play the bulk of the minutes. Darius Thompson played with Chivas, who's a heck of a player, transferred from Tennessee. And then their guard, Johnson, is terrific. The way they score, veteran team that played in the tournament last year. So, of course, it's a different team, more mature, just like these guys were 3 years ago. And so, you take a look at some things, but I think both teams have evolved since then. And both teams are very experienced. They may be older than us as far as experience goes. It seems like all the games, the teams we played in the conference tournament, the 3 games, and this is definitely a senior-laden teams.
Clearly the seedings validate your scheduling philosophy. Has that been your philosophy from the start, or was there a point where you said we've got to get this schedule tough?
I think we talked a little bit about it before. We know the conference is going to be tough. We always want to play really good games to prepare for conference, and you have to qualify you have to be good enough to win enough games, play a good enough schedule to qualify for this tournament, for the NCAA tournament. That's something you don't take for granted to get into it. And we were 1-2 at one point, and we knew we were going to have to finish this conference strong. But we always had a couple of games. I remember asking, I think both Anthony and Malcolm, we have a couple games left, and to get finished in our non-conference, and they said, let's try to play the best teams we can find. And I remember that's where we matched up with, we got the Villanova game, and I believe it might have been the Cal game. You're always in constant conversations trying to fill your non-conference schedule, but it was trying to find the best schedule possible. And, you have to have success against it, but that was by design with a veteran team, but we always try to play a challenging schedule.
Tony and Malcolm talked earlier this year about kind of maybe being too relaxed when you got into the tournament and thinking that, you guys were good and things were going to happen for you. Tony, what do you do as a coach to make sure you guys are juiced and primed to play in these big games? And Malcolm, what do you do as kind of a team leader to kind of make sure that you guys are in the right mind frame?
I think you prepare well. I think as I told you this year, last year we sort of lived off our success in a good way. And I think this year, having been in so many close games, having dropped some games, we realize you got to be at your best. It's a fine line. You just look at college basketball, so we understand that the experience is there. I think you have to be ready. Of course, you have to be focused and play hard, but you have to go out and enjoy it and play and be freed up to play. And I think we understand that. I think there's a balance there. You talk about the blinders, absolutely, and the focus that's there. But I always tell these guys, give thanks. You're in a good opportunity. Go out, lay it on the line, and know that you can handle the best that can happen, and you can handle the worst that can happen. And I think there's something freeing about that, at least for me, and I think these guys share that value. So I think when you step into opportunities to play, that's the right mindset. But we'll prepare as well as we can, have respect for this team, and that's why I mentioned at the start, you go after it one game at a time. I know every coach says that, but you just lock in and then see what happens.
Okay. Last question, Mike Barber. We'll have to take 2 more.
for the players, I'm curious if you've started looking at Hampton at all, if you've seen them play at all this year, and if neither of you have, then maybe Coach can just give us a sort of overview scouting report. But I don't know if you guys have seen anything yet.
No, I mean, unless they have. Like I said, they can really score. Veteran team. You know, I got their stats right here. Johnson and Chivas are terrific. You know, the numbers they're putting up, and then Brian Darden's a guy that can get hot from anywhere. They're guards, but they have the ability to play off the bounce. Chivas is kind of a 4-3 who can do some stuff, averaging a double-double, and just again, experienced team, well coached. They've been in a lot of games. Good hard-nosed defense, and they keep playing. They can score in spurts and have a number of players that are effective. So I think college basketball has shown that it's balanced. So you're going to have to obviously play. They won their regular season and they won their conference tournament. That's hard to do. It made me appreciate. You know, Carolina did it this year, beating us. They won the regular season, and when these guys did it a couple of years ago, maybe I didn't appreciate that as much at the time, but knowing how hard that is, and certainly Hampton did that this year, and they've had great success the last few years.
Tony, just back to what I asked Malcolm earlier about the experience in the NCAA tournament. What kind of things have you seen between these three guys that where they don't communicate vocally, but you see things that they do on the court, and how can you take advantage of less experienced teams with that kind of chemistry?
Yeah, well, certainly we're playing an experienced team, but I just think playing together, you just understand there's a cohesiveness or a thing you develop on the floor. I think you were talking about probably London and Anthony and Malcolm. I just think they understand, all right, this is how to encourage each other, how to challenge each other, maybe where we need to get a look. Hey, I see things. They handle themselves well in the timeouts and in the locker room at halftime. They know what to say. I ask them a lot of questions during the game. What do you see? What do you think? I just rely on them because of that experience. Don't know if I do that as much with first years, but with these guys I would. So I think their feel for being in those spots, but then they're compliant if I say this is what we're doing. So I just think you don't get that bond without playing a lot together, and certainly these guys have.